Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. I was in studio yesterday, Tony, of course, but today I'm back in Sweet Home Chicago.
I'm Tony Kornheiser. I'm back in Sweet Home Basement. Pretty happy about that.
Yeah,
that
you've been in basement more lately than I've been in Chicago.
Yeah, the ride home from the studio took 50 minutes. 50 minutes? That's a long time. What's with this traffic?
Would you get lost?
Come on. I wasn't driving. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, could the Panthers trade Bryce Young? Are NFL kickers too good? And Booger McFarland joins us for 5 good minutes. But we begin today with tonight's Thursday night game, the Patriots at the Jets. The Patriots have won all but 3 of these games since 2011. And 2 of the Jets' 3 wins were in overtime. That's domination, Holmes. Of course, the Patriots had Tom Brady for many of those games, but it's still 23-3 for the Patriots. Well, everyone says the Jets could be a contending team with Aaron Rodgers. So, do the Jets need to win this game to justify these expectations?
No. And not everyone thinks the Jets are serious contenders, because I don't necessarily think that. I'm not going to rule them out, but I'm not throwing them up there with Kansas City, or in my case, Kansas City and Houston or Baltimore and Cincinnati. I'm not putting the Jets up there. Right. I mean, this is classic East Coast bias, and why I have tirades against I-95, sometimes in jest, sometimes not. The Jets aren't that good. Aaron Rodgers is not Aaron Rodgers from 13, 14 years ago. When did he win a Super Bowl? Like 2009? It's a long time ago. He's yes, you'd love to have Aaron Rodgers, but let's not go crazy. So, no, I don't think the Jets are that. But, Tony, they have to beat out the 4th best team in their division by the end of December, not the middle of September. So, no, let's not go crazy like most people will every NFL week to start it even on Thursday night. The Jets can lose tonight and recover just fine, nicely, and be in contention when it's time to be in December. Tonight is no barometer of that, not to me.
I'm going to disagree with you right down the line. I want to say this, and I want to be very clear about this without any ambiguity. If the Jets lose this game tonight, we don't have to talk about them for the rest of the season. This would be a terrible loss at home, be a catastrophic loss. Mike, they're playing a division opponent that has been so weakened in the last few years. There's no Brady, there's no Belichick. They traded away their best defensive player. I have no idea how they beat Cincinnati in Cincinnati. I know they have a pretty good defense, but I'm going to say this again. If the Jets lose this game, get out of here. And I'm saying this as somebody who rooted for that team for 40 years. I mean, I was a Jets fan. Let me check my notes here. I don't want to say that the Jets are any good, because we don't know if the Jets are any good.
We don't know.
But if you can't beat the Patriots in your division, how are you going to beat Miami? How are you going to beat
Miami?
Buffalo? I mean,
we don't know who Miami's quarterback is.
Let me just get to this point.
Buffalo's won the last 4 division titles. Okay.
Let me get to these numbers. 23-3, and only one time since 2011 did the Jets win in regulation. Excuse me, over the Patriots. They have not won in New York since 2011, not in overtime. I mean, it's awful. This is a large sample size. This is like your Bears and the Packers. And, Mike, the Jets are favored tonight. They're favored for the first time in like 25 games. It's ridiculous.
I don't pay attention to who's favored. But, Tony, if they lose to New England and they win 5 out of 7, they're right. They're fine. They're fine. And don't tell me about Miami. Miami doesn't even have a quarterback. And New England, Mike, at least maybe Jared Mayo is a terrific 5 in a row.
They beat Tennessee, which is a terrible team. It should count as half a win. That's all they've done.
I'll take a win over Tennessee in my situation, too. It's more than a half a win. Earlier this week, the Panthers benched Bryce Young, as we all know. Should they trade him? Yesterday, when head coach Dave Canales was asked that, he replied, quote, "That's not something we're really considering. We have a great situation with our quarterbacks right now with the guys that have experience. We love where we are, and it's all hands on deck," close quote. Tone, what do you hear when Canales says that?
What do I hear? When I hear him say, what's the direct quote? "We love where we're at." I hear someone who cannot tell the truth. It's like Pinocchio. His nose should be growing. What are you talking about? They scored 13 points in 2 games, right? They gave up 73 points. If you think we love where we're at that, you're in the wrong business. You're just in the wrong business. In terms of hearing, we're not thinking about trading him now. Well, what I hear there is make me an offer. Because if they get a good offer, they will trade him because he has been a complete bust. He's 2-16 as a starter there. This year, he's averaging only 4 yards per pass attempt, and this guy benched him. Okay? He benched him. So, I mean, try not to spin this some other way. I know you've sat there and you have said to me you like Bryce Young a lot, and you hope he does well if he gets a second chance. Well, if you hope that, you should hope he doesn't get a second chance in Carolina. You should hope he gets a second chance.
That's right. I hope he is traded, Tony, because Carolina's a mess. They're the ones who should be benched. They're the ones who are the bust continually. And here's the thing, Tony. Canales, I don't listen to what head football coaches say on the record in the season ever. Ever. Not since like Buddy Ryan. I mean, Buddy Ryan did go. Okay, Tomlin's the exception. And I don't listen to head coaches on the record in pro football. They're paid to deceive. They're paid to push their point to their players in the media if they can, to get across a certain message to the public if they can. I don't pay attention to any of it. It's garbage. So I'm not listening to Canales. He doesn't even make the trade. He's not even perhaps authorized to do that. He has no stature. He's been a head coach for a minute and a half. So I don't listen to any of that. I hope that they do trade him and he gets to start somewhere where there's competence, where there's adequate coaching. I told you that with Justin Fields, and he's getting better coaching now.
You want to go somewhere and succeed like Sam Darnold at a second spot, like Baker Mayfield, like Geno Smith. You don't want to be playing for a coach who's already benched you because that feels like Zach Wilson with the Jets. That's not a good situation. I don't know how good Bryce Young can be, but I'm pretty sure he can be better somewhere else than if he gets another chance here. We turn now to kicking. And there's a piece in Yahoo that highlights the absurd accuracy that we are seeing in long-distance field goals. Over 2 weeks this season, NFL kickers are 35 of 39 in field goals 50 yards or more. This is the highest number over 2 weeks in NFL history. As recently as 2006, it was a total of 40 field goals 50 yards or more for the entire season, 16 weeks. Wilbon, are NFL kickers too good? And does the NFL need to make adjustments?
No, we don't. We need to admire what they're doing, not adjust. There's no adjustment to make. I mean, it would be stupid to have an adjustment. Make the goal post smaller. Stop the people suggesting that garbage. Tony, the field goal, the long field goal, the 50-plus field goal, it's like three-point shooting. It has dramatically changed its sport. And you go back in time, Tony, even a guy like Morton Anderson, who invented modern kicking to me in the 1980s. Morton Anderson was 80% on all his field goals, which is great, but only 47% from 50 or beyond. And then you go to Adam Vinatieri, who went to 63% from 50 beyond. Then Justin Tucker, who went to 67%. Now, Tony, the other night in the Bears-Houston game, the Houston Texans had 4 field goals of Fairbairn of 50 yards or more, and that's how they won the game. And the Bears had 2 field goals. It might have been a 49 and a plus 50. 6 out of 6 were like 49 or longer. It's amazing. Yeah. The accuracy is amazing. The detail, the attention to detail, the strength and precision of kicking, the coaching of it. Admire it. Like three-point shooting. You're not going to do anything to it.
So here we have another disagreement. Let me first go to the numbers so people understand that. There have been 32 games played so far this season, 32. They got 35 field goals, 50 or more. In 2006, they had 256 games and they only had 40. So there's an explosion of kicking points. And by the way, 2 of the ones who were missed this year are Justin Tucker, who you referenced, who's going to go to the Hall of Fame because he's that great a kicker. I understand that it's called football. There is now, I think, Mike, too much foot in it. You and I both remember very distinctly when you went to 50 yards or more, if you made it, there was a gasp from the crowd because more than half of them were missed. from 45 or more. That was the number, 45, and more than half of those were missed. You mentioned Morton Anderson, 40 of 84 in his career from 50 plus. I think it is time for some sort of tweaking. You mentioned that people want to narrow the goalposts to shorten the target for the kickers. I don't want to do that. I want to play with score, Mike, and thank you for talking about basketball. I think I want to give 2 points for field goals inside of 40. 3 points for field goals outside of 40, but I want to take a point away if you miss it, if you miss a field goal. I want coaches to have to think strategically, do we want to do this? I want to fool around with the score. Just like in basketball where they fooled around with the 3-point, they changed the score. I'm okay with doing it.
They don't take points away.
Well,
where did you get this from TikTok? It was insane. What
TikTok,
are you
isn't
talking
that where
about?
Cat Stance? Isn't that Cat Stance on TikTok?
I don't know.
Isn't that what they do?
I don't subscribe.
Let's take a break. Coming up, why did the Cowboys defense look so soft last week? We're going to ask Booger McFarland.
We'll also ask him what makes Aiden Hutchinson so effective at sacking the quarterback. Stop.
Kickers are
away
better
points.
now. They are so much. In a story we broke in our first segment, week 3 of the NFL season kicks off tonight. That makes it a perfect time to bring in our great friend, ESPN, NFL, and college football analyst, Booger McFarland, wearing a shirt from Lochinvar in Houston, Texas. Let's start with this, talking about Texas. Michael Parsons says that the Ravens are a, quote, prove-it game for the Cowboys defense. Now, Dan Quinn is no longer there. He's in Washington. Why did the Cowboys defense look so soft last week?
Because they are. All they want to do, Tony, is play pass and rush the passer. I mean, I can try to overcomplicate this, but it's really simple. Michael Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, those guys want to get after the quarterback, and they're relatively small guys by NFL standards. So anytime you get a bigger team that wants to be physical like the New Orleans Saints were or like the Baltimore Ravens are, that's going to come down here with a big offensive line, and you got big dudes against little dudes, and the big dudes keep leaning on the little dudes, that's what happens in the run game. And I think if you're Mike Zimmer, who was brought in there to fix this defense, you got to get creative. You got to get those guys moving, some line stunts. I know a lot's put on Mosley Smith, which is the defensive tackle from Michigan, where he's got to be the big, rough, and tough anchor of the defense. But it really takes 11 to play run defense, and they got to get better. They didn't look soft. They were soft, guys.
Well, let's talk about a defense that has not been soft through 2 games. The Minnesota Vikings with 11 sacks through 2 games. And Brock Purdy told Brian Flores, the defensive coordinator, his scheme is crazy. I don't exactly know what that means, but enlighten us. What do you see when you look at the Vikings through 2 games on defense?
It's called organized chaos, Mike, because Brian Flores understands that offensive coordinators want to know where we are as defensive players. They want to know where we're going to be and what we're doing. And Brian Flores says, okay, I'm going to show you one thing, but we're going to exchange jobs. We're going to do different things. Harrison Smith, who's a safety, you're going to come down and play linebacker. They're going to have defensive ends dropping out playing corner. We're going to blitz different guys from different spots. And so it's organized chaos to the offense and organized chaos to the fans. But to those guys that are on the team, they understand what they're doing. They're exchanging jobs. And Brian Flores is one of the better defensive coordinators in football. Just look at his record against Kyle Shanahan. And we all think Kyle Shanahan is maybe the greatest play caller in the National Football League. He has trouble with Brian Flores because Flores understands how to disguise things, and it makes it really difficult on offenses.
All right, let's stay in the same division and stay with defense for a second, because I got to ask you about Aiden Hutchinson, who had, 5.5 sacks in the last 2 games, 10.5 in the last 4 games. Booger, I find myself going to the ultimate comparison for me, which is Reggie White. Am I overstating it? Is Aiden Hutchinson starting to creep into that territory? Is he that good?
Yeah, it's a bit early for that, and I can just see Tony right now pulling his hair out that you're comparing this guy to Reggie White. It's a bit early for that, Mike. Let's pump the brakes on that right now, Mike.
All right.
Now, he's very good, and what makes him good is sometimes as a defensive player or a football player in general, you're a great athlete. Sometimes you're a great technician. But what happens when you're both? Then you get Aiden Hutchinson. you get TJ Watt. These are guys that are supremely gifted athletes. They can bend, they're long, but they're also technicians. There's a technique to this thing called football. We don't just get out there and run around like a chicken with their head cut off. You have to understand hand placement, hand movement, the ability to lean and dip your shoulder. And he does all of those things at the highest level. So, yeah, although the Reggie White comparison is a bit too much, he's definitely a guy who's one of our better players in this league. He's one of the better athletes, but more importantly, he's one of the better technicians also.
Don't suggest that I would pull my hair out. I don't have any hair left to pull out, so I'm not going to do that. But we'll get you out of here on this. We're going to do a college question. There's a bunch of games over the weekend that involve two ranked teams, USC and Michigan, Utah and Oklahoma State, Tennessee, Oklahoma. Is there one game, and it may not be one of those games, is there one game out there that you find yourself particularly interested in this weekend?
Yeah, Tony, it's got to be Tennessee, Oklahoma for a number of reasons. Tennessee's head coach, Josh Heupel, used to play at Oklahoma. They're going back to Norman. There's that aspect. Tennessee has his quarterback in Nico Iamaleava. He's a guy who we're thinking could be a Heisman Trophy candidate. Tennessee could be a college football playoff team. And so now you have this team going on the road to their first real big opponent, although no disrespect to NC State. This is their first true big opponent on the road. And can Tennessee deal with Oklahoma with what they're going to have to do in Norman? And I'm just interested to see, is Tennessee for real? Okay, Oklahoma's got a really good team. Jackson Arnold, a five-star quarterback in his second year. He's progressed. Brett Venables has done a really good job up there. Is Tennessee for real? Can they have an opportunity to get into the college football playoff? This is the first opportunity we get a chance to really see what they're made of.
No, we're all going to watch it. Thank you, Booger.
Booger
as
just
always.
sold me
Thank
on
you.
that game. Definitely sold us on that game. Appreciate it, Booger.
Absolutely, guys. Enjoy it.
Let's take one last break. Coming up, Texas names its starting quarterback for Saturday.
And a bizarre finish to last night's game for the Mariners. The Mariners again.
It's a lot of...
I want to talk about the Mariners when they do stupid stuff.
Happy time, people. Happy 26th birthday, Trae Young, and happy 28th birthday, DeJounte Murray. How convenient. They used to be teammates on the Atlanta Hawks. Young ended up on the Hawks in 2018 after a draft night trade with Dallas for Luka Doncic. Murray was drafted by the Spurs in 2016, ended up on the Hawks in 2022, traded there for a bunch of first-round picks. They were together for 2 seasons. The first one, they went 41-41. The second one, 36-46. Young scored 25 points a game last season, and Murray scored 22, but the team wasn't better. And Murray has since been traded to New Orleans. There are persistent rumors that Young could be traded as well. Atlanta feels like a sinking ship.
Yeah, the most intriguing player sitting at radio courtside, radio and TV. That would be Dominique Wilkins, still synonymous and the best player ever for the Atlanta Hawks in my book. But Tony, DeJounte Murray has a chance to impact that team if he's there for a full season. I look for a pretty decent season from New Orleans, not necessarily from Atlanta.
Happy anniversary, Golden Tate. On this day, 15 years ago, the Notre Dame receiver celebrated a go-ahead touchdown for the Irish against Michigan State by diving into the band. Tate thought it would be a crowd-surfing moment. It wasn't. And Tate later conceded, quote, "I thought the people were going to catch me, but I forgot that it was Michigan State's band," unquote. Tate played 11 seasons in the NFL. He was also drafted twice by baseball teams. Once in 2007 out of high school by the Diamondbacks, and then 3 years later by the Giants. 2 years ago at 33, Tate signed with the Port Angeles Lefties of the West Coast League, started in center field that night.
Anybody other than us old enough to remember Golden Richards, the wide receiver who played mostly for the Dallas Cowboys? I think, strangely enough, a season for the Bears. But Golden Richards had the golden locks flying out of the helmet.
Yep.
Remember him?
Yep.
When I hear Golden, I still think of Golden Richards.
Happy trails to last night's game for the Mariners. Seattle had the tying run on third in the bottom of the 10th against the Yankees last night, where Randy Arozarena struck out swinging. The bat flew from his hands towards the runner at third, Julio Rodriguez. As Rodriguez bailed into foul territory, Yankee catcher Austin Wells spotted an opportunity. He threw to third and picked off Rodriguez to complete the weird double play, all but ending the game. In that situation, Mike, I actually think the ump should have called time. Rodriguez should not be penalized for running for his life from a flying bat.
Yeah, okay, I agree with you in principle, but then he kept jogging toward the dugout. He took like 8 more steps toward the dugout. Dude, where you going?
That's fair. That's fair. Let's go to the big finish. The Guardians walked off the Twins today to clinch a spot in the postseason. How good are the Guardians?
As good as the Yankees. The only 1 game back of them for the best record in the AL. Texas is going to start Arch Manning in place of Quinn Ewers, who was still injured, against Louisiana Monroe on Saturday. Your expectations?
What a soft landing for Arch Manning against Texas San Antonio, where he throws 4 touchdown passes in relief. Now he gets this squad. He'll throw at least 4, I would think. Coco Gauff is split with Coach Brad Gilbert. That makes sense to you, right?
I don't know. There's too much stuff talk about coaches and looking to the box and young players gesticulate. Enough. Play. 52-year-old Czech League winger Jaromir Jagr had an assist in the opener of his 37th, and he says final professional season. You're impressed, aren't you?
Of course, he's 52 years old. The NHL Hall of Fame is just waiting for him to quit so they can put him in the Hall of Fame. He's played forever. Last one, Chris Sale. 5 innings, allowing 5 hits and 2 earned against the Reds this afternoon. Wow. Now 18-3. You got him for the NL side, right?
He could lead the league in wins, strikeouts, and ERA. I'd like to stump for Imanaga, but I got to shut up.
Out of time. Do better next time. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, Knuckleheads. And now you know what's coming next.
BTI.